I was rough around the edges.
Right, and I feel like everybody starts off that way. Can you think of one situation where you realized you were being unprofessional and you corrected that?
I'm laughing because
this is going to be a good one.
I mean, you gotta understand, I've been in the industry for coming up on 11 years, and the person I am today
is not who you were in the past.
Nah.
But with that being said,
I was rough around the edges.
Right, and I feel like everybody starts off that way. I can think of one student right now, CJ. You've met CJ, right? He is probably one of the nicest, polished human beings I've met. I think he's young, of course, but I think CJ is one of those students that could definitely go really far in the barbering industry. And I think his professionalism is really high. So I think many of you are very professional here. CJ just pops in my mind because he has a little, he's just got something about him where he just,
no, I agree.
He's got that great vibe.
I see the way he carries himself. He's very professional.
He carries himself really well. So with that being said, he could learn from watching this. So think back to your time, whatever, and anybody can learn from this. I can learn from this as well, even though I'm not a barber. But think back to a time where you were just new to the game. You're feeling yourself, and then there was a time where you were unprofessional and you realized it, but you corrected yourself.
I'll say this, like, I had a bad habit of talking across the shop.
Okay.
Which is okay, because a lot of times in a barbershop atmosphere, we all have conversations that intertwine. I may be right beside you as a fellow barber, and our clients may cross-talk or across, and it may just be such a big conversation that everybody chimes in. But I think what was bad about my situation is I would actually leave the client, or I've got into intense conversations to where it's been arguments and I've left from my client's side, and that's so unprofessional.
Right.
Very. For one, you should never leave your client's side to go talk or debate with anybody. That's flat out wrong. And even when you're talking, you should always be constantly going further with the service. So even if I'm communicating with you about something, I don't necessarily have to look at you to say, hey, Mattie, whatever I have to say. But the whole time, my focus is constantly on my client. You have barbers who will actually sit down, start talking, going through their phone, different things like that. And I've been guilty of those type of things. So once I kind of learned about shop etiquette, that was a habit I broke real quick. So I no longer do things like that. When I'm servicing my client, even if I have to have a conversation with someone, I say what I have to say, but I'm constantly focusing on my client and continuing the service. And if the conversation is going in depth, I'll say, hold on, wait till I finish my client and get them out of here and taken care of, and then we can go further into whatever we're talking about.
Okay, so let's move on from professionalism and let's go to sanitation.
Okay.
Because sanitation right now is probably at its highest importance level possible. I feel like I'm putting it on a pedestal right now because we're in the middle of the pandemic.
Gotcha.
And sanitation was always important, but it is the most important right now.
Very much so.
So when it comes to sanitation, and in particular, since you're at a barbering school, we keep our sanitation levels super high. So if there's one word of advice for sanitation purposes, what would you give someone who is a new graduate going into a barbershop in an actual working setting about sanitation?
In regards to sanitation, there's a few things. Especially during the pandemic, you want to stay up on your high touch areas. Any surfaces that are constantly touched, your station, doorknobs, reception areas, any like places where people may go get drinks from, or drink areas, water fountains if you have one in your shop. Just anything that's constantly being touched, you want to stay up on wiping that down. Check temperatures. That's something else you should do more now in this situation. Check temperatures. Have clients wash hands. After each and every service, you should be cleaning your tools and instruments that you use, but more so than ever now, make sure you constantly do that. After your client gets up from your chair, wipe your chair down.
Yeah, that's a huge one that I feel like is so easily missed right there.
Very much so, because each client sitting in your chair, different thing like that, wipe your chair down and constantly wash your hands.
Yes.
And make sure that your linens and your towels and stuff of that nature are constantly washed. And if you can, recycle your capes if you have multiple capes in your shop. So that's just some of the things that you can do to stay up on sanitation.
As far as tools go, so I just saw, don't ask how this came across my Instagram page. I just saw this video of this guy who has a pair of clippers that he's using, and he's done with his client, and he takes apart the clippers, and there's probably like an inch or two of just hair inside of there. How important do you think, and how often would you suggest, I know you're not like some tool mechanism specialist on this, but just being in a barbershop, how often do you think it would be suggested for someone to take the faceplate off of their clippers just to even check, because that's multiple people's hair right there inside that clipper.
But you know what's funny that you said that, because Brittany allowed me to teach chapter 5 this morning.
Okay, I saw that this morning where you guys were, okay.
So I was going over chapter 5, and everything that you said, that's what I was stressing about, cleaning tools.
Okay.
And I was telling
to
you.
the in depth where you're taking off.
Oh, we broke them down.
Okay.
We broke them down all the way to everything except for taking the guts
out. Yeah.
out.
And he didn't take it out. He just cleaned around it, which was even. I mean, to me, I was like, I think it looked very clean afterwards. So, with that being said, so you guys did that this morning. Did you guys find some interesting rat's nests in there?
and I let them know that at least every other week or once a week. You know, if you have high clientele volume, every day.
Yeah.
If you can.
And that's what this guy was saying, was every day.
Every day.
But he had a lot of clientele.
If you have high clientele, every day. If you don't have as much, maybe once a week.
Okay.
No more than every other week.
Yeah.
If you go from week to week not cleaning your clippers, something is wrong. Now, of course, when I say clean to the viewers out there, I mean more in depth than just spraying it down with Cool Care.
Yeah, taking it.
Yeah, where I mean,
the faceplate off, getting in there.
Because some people say, "What is he talking about?" You're supposed to. Every day, after each service, you spray your clippers down with Cool Care.
Yes.
But in-depth cleaning every day if you can, at least once a week or every other week.
Yeah.
For sure. Because what I showed them was to take the faceplate off, even go to Walmart and go into depth. Because sometimes you can get the brush and get the hair out, but if you get the dust, the air canister, that helps blow extra particles out as well.
Yeah.
And always keep blade wash as well, because you can do the Cool Care, but I find blade wash extremely useful, because you can pour that in a bowl, have your clippers running, and just lay them down in the bowl and let the blade actually sit in.
And that was another thing he did. He had like a whole sink. It almost looked like barbicide, but not barbicide. And he had his straight razor in there. He had all his little attachments in there. He had everything in there.
For sure.
And he was just letting it soak. And I just